intended for it to be spoiler free, but I also do talk about some plot points and some situations, and I talk about quotes, and I feel as though this video is not safe if you do not want to know anything about this book. If you don't care about knowing things, you can keep watching, but just letting you know, me personally, I would not watch this video if I had not read the book first. That's the warning I'm gonna give you. Last night I was in a very impulsive mood, so I just got in my car and I just started driving. It was like, oh wait, I want to like go to my grandparents' house, and it was really late, and they were like, maybe you should just like stay here. But then obviously like this trip was very impulsive. Like I didn't have my phone, I didn't have any shoes, I had no form of ID. It was literally just me. So I obviously did not have any pajamas because obviously it was very impulsive. I just literally got in the car and drove, and I didn't take anything with me. But my grandma was like, it's okay, like I've got some pajamas for you and like you can just keep them. And this was a shirt that she gave me. It is written in the stars. Now, this is something that BJ says to Magnolia. He's like, you know, that's our love. Our love, it's written in the stars. That's what he says to her, which I think is so funny considering I'm going to be reading that book. Am I scared to read this? Yes. Yes, I am. Things didn't end off in a very positive or happy note. So I'm a little nervous to read this book. I also know that as much as I love Julian, as much as I know that Magnolia should choose Julian, she's never going to. She's going to choose BJ. Because if you look at the back, it literally says, how many loves do you actually get in a lifetime? Everyone knows that by now Magnolia and BJ are written in the stars. But is that enough? Every single book, they're pushing the narrative that it doesn't matter who they're with, they are soulmates. Okay, well, I really like this. Also, look at how big the writing is. I'm very good at that. Please ignore my nails, okay? I am in the middle of redoing them, and it's very strange for me to have no nail polish on my nails because I don't remember the last time I had no nail polish on my nails, so just ignore them because they're a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary for me to see nails without any nail polish on them. This book is making me like Christian. So sorry, Christian, for all the things that I said about you before. When I said I didn't get why people liked you, me talking to a fictional character as if they're real and not fictional. Anyways, I'm not going to really say much about the scenes and scenarios, and I won't even tell you if she ends up with BJ or Julian. I won't even tell you that. She could end up with Julian. She could end up with no one. They could end up both dying, because I don't know why I feel like they're both gonna die, like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing, because I think I'm just imagining this, but I swear they mentioned something about being Romeo and Juliet. I don't think they did. I honestly don't think they did. I'm just making it up, but like I still feel like they're gonna die. I guess we'll see, but I'm not gonna tell you if that happens. You'll have to read it yourself, so like look it up. I'm currently on page 24, kind of just getting some backstory about what happened at the end of the last Magnolia Parks book. The significance of the bathtub, which Magnolia is currently sitting in, just all came flashing back to me, because at first I thought it was just because there was a scene in the book where she was sitting in the bathtub and then like BJ like picked her up out of it, but no, and it's all come crashing back to me, the significance of the bathtub. But I'm not gonna tell you again because it's like a spoiler, but just know that like, oh. Does this sentence make sense to you? Because it's not clicking in my brain. I don't know that I'm an innately distrustful person. Perhaps it's because I'm not that what happened then happened. What? I'm not that what happened then happened. It's because I'm not that what happened then happened. What? There, you can see that I'm not reading it out wrong. You guys, this sandwich is absolutely delicious. And I'm gonna go see that like tennis movie, The Challenges. I'm gonna see that movie, and so I'll update you if it's good or not, or just like my thoughts. Don't look at my face, I just woke up, but I want to just get my reactions because this chapter she sees Julian again. Now if you know me, you know that Julian is my favorite of every single character. See, she's like, I used to think he probably liked me, but then, you know, he could so quickly turn a dime, he could be so cold because you were in love with BJ, because you were just using Julian. And Julian, yes, he was using you, but like the reason why he was changing was because he knew that you were gonna always pick BJ. Like, I don't know how anyone could actually have ever thought that she was gonna actually ever choose Julian. Even me, who loves Julian, knew that she was never gonna pick him ever. Julian was never supposed to be a choice. Like, it was very obvious if you read the books that she was just using him to sort of get over BJ. Like, she's annoying me. She's annoying me. So now she's reminiscing when Julian, a dude who she wasn't even really with, was with a girl. And she's like, it hurt me so much. You were literally with BJ. You were literally with BJ. You were talking with him and then he went off because he's upset. after everything that BJ did to her. Like, she is very hypocritical. Like, I remember it because there's so many times in this book where she has said something or done something that's so hypocritical and everyone else knows it, which is how I know it's like purposeful. Like, one time she was getting mad at her mom and was like, he cheated on you, how desperate do you have to be to go back to him? And then her dad like was like just side-eyed her when she said that, and then looked at BJ, and BJ was like, well, I don't like his implication there, but like, it's true. What's he wearing? Okay, I'm pausing this because I need to go check the Magnolia Park's closet Instagram to see what he's wearing. So this is what she is wearing. She kind of is giving teddy bear with this outfit. Also, I just want to show you this bag because I think this bag is so beautiful. I want to show you this bag, right? But while we do, let's just scroll through. I love the fact that someone has actually done this. I actually don't even mind this outfit. At first when I read she bought him something that said, a wolf will never be a pet, I was like, okay, very cool, but no, that's what it looks like. This bag is so beautiful. It's that one. And I could not find it. Let me show you what he's wearing. Back to the regular scheduled programming. Imagine when it's in his perspective. She puts her nose in the air a lot. Like, it reminds me of that TikTok trend. It's like, I'm not nosy. They're wearing a rat filter and they're like, that's what I imagine every single time. What? Come here. You won't hear me say this, but that chapter was needed. I feel closure now. Now she's going to be with BJ. I feel enough closure for that. And everything's fine. But you won't hear me say that. I wonder if she's going to tell... Oh, never mind. Wonder how I'm here again. How many times is she going to believe the worst in me? How much of my life am I going to have to spend proving that I'm not who everyone keeps saying I am? See, the thing is that he needs to be understanding. He needs to understand that what he did has consequences, okay? And what he continued to do after he first initially cheated, that all has consequences. And so when you see pictures that look like you're cheating, she's gonna obviously think, oh, he's cheating again. Did someone just scratch at my door? I fell asleep watching this movie last night, so I am quickly watching the ending now. It's about wrestling. I'm actually crying. I'm actually crying right now. There are tears streaming down my cheeks right now. And this is based on a true story. I'm actually crying. There's a situation happening in the book right now. I have a book package here, so I'm going to open it with you. Also, why is this so big? I don't know. So let's just open it. I did that entire thing and then I realized you could see my naked nails, and I don't want you seeing my naked nails. This is the first book. I have heard kind of a lot of things about this. I've heard that this dude actually really mean. I think that the cover is very pretty. The second book that I got, I'm so excited for this. It's Rebecca, and I have wanted to read this book for possibly the longest time, and then I just never have. It says Rebecca is dead and yet she influences every action and thought of all the other characters in the book. The moment I finished, I turned to page 1 and started over again, and that is my haul. Something about this book that I'm doing is I am ignoring all of the comments, all of the scenes where I am actually side-eyeing them. I'm like, why would you say that? That's not something I agree with. That is just something that, you know, I'd never agree with. Because something you need to know is that Magnolia and a lot of people around her, they're very flawed characters. And I suppose that makes them more real, but no, Magnolia is rude. She's obnoxious. She says some very problematic things. She does think that she's like better than everyone in the world. Like, she is very classist. Like, she attacks poor people, even just people who are like middle class. BJ cheated on Magnolia, right? That's BJ there. Well, that's not actually BJ. I can't remember what book it's in, but something about him being the wolf. But the trust is fully shattered to the point where in this book, there was actually a point where I actually did consider if he was cheating on Magnolia with her mom. Because he said things in the past about her eyes I heard something about potentially Magnolia Parks becoming like a TV show. I genuinely feel sorry for whoever is going to Magnolia because she is consistently described as literally the most beautiful girl in the world. I fear for what people are going to say. I will say that there are some pretty heavy topics in this book. Things like grief, eating disorders, they're kind of delved into, but like not really. And I'm saying this because, spoiler alert, I actually have already finished this. And I just have copious amounts of notes, which I'm going to read out to you. And that's also why I look like this. It's been a long day for me. This discussion of eating disorders doesn't really go into any treatment for it. As soon as I found out the Magnolia Parks closet, it was very life-changing for me because someone on Instagram like has gone through and every single outfit they like post. But I did actually notice something, so I just thought it was funny. It says this: who even cares what you wear, you might ask, if you're a fool? The answer is everyone. Everyone cares what I wear. And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because I remember one of the most criticized things about the first book is when I was reading the reviews is that so many people were like, all she talks about is clothes, like no one cares about her clothes, like who cares what she wears, like who cares what outfit she wears, who cares what clothes she's wearing, like no one cares. I don't even know if that's intentional or not. Everyone who asks that, they're being called a fool. There is also a flower I'm gonna put on the screen because it is Bridget's favorite flower, and I actually looked it up because Magnolia was like, it's so rare, and this is what it looks like. It's like the geranium prairie smoke, but I think that that is a very pretty flower. Okay, so where is my next page of notes for this? Like, I have 3 pages of notes here. I have terrible sleeping problems. I sometimes go about my day with no sleep at all, and yes, I do fear that I'm going to die of lack of sleep, but why does my fan look like it's being burnt? Oh great, it's gonna be like a damn house fire. Is that what it is? Like, what is that? Where's that dust? Is the blades messed up? But I read mainly at night just because I literally cannot sleep. So I mainly take notes. As you can see, I just have pages upon pages of notes. Oh my god, I'm actually sick. Oh, I'm sick. 183. It's a newspaper article. I think this book does a good job at showing how when someone completely obliterates your trust, it's very hard to believe that there's been a misunderstanding or something has been falsified, and you just always immediately jump to the worst possible scenario because that's what they've done in the past. In chapter 32, BJ talks about grief and he compares it to drowning. I think what he said there is actually quite profound. See, drowning is drowning. Some people may be drowning for longer than others. Some drowning might put you on a whole new path once you're through it. Sometimes it might change how your brain works if you're cut off from oxygen for long enough. Could even cost your life. The severity of the drowning incident might be scalable, but the drowning itself, the grief itself, it's all water you can't breathe in. So that wasn't even what I was supposed to be talking about. What I was supposed to be talking to you about is this. They're talking about rumors, and there's a rumor that Magnolia got pregnant by Edward from Twilight. BJ attacks, never been a fan of that sickly white Victorian man-child. He's like, she was Team Jacob anyway. Well, can I tell you something really funny? Because sometimes I look at authors' Instagrams with some contention, because if you'll see this cover right, originally we're just going to get the feet covers. So I was checking her Instagram to see if there were going to be updates about the covers. And the guy who plays Jacob in Twilight, Taylor Lautner, he was in her comment section and she answered him. So like, that's why she wrote that in there, because it's literally such a random thing. Magnolia, another thing about her character is she's very, very hypocritical. Magnolia, she is not very self-aware. Basically, she is talking to someone who has been cheated on. And this is what she says. You're pathetic, Magnolia glares. He cheated on you and now you're just back together. How desperate are you? And BJ's like, and I love her. I know I do. But her self-awareness sometimes. And then the person who cheated on the person she's talking to then like looks at Magnolia and is like, there are a lot of jokes in this book where Magnolia is being very tone deaf and ignorant and annoying and obnoxious, and there are definitely some problematic things. Also, this is something I feel like I've been saying for every single book, but the way these books are written, it's like you need to imagine a friend telling you a story. Sometimes Magnolia or BJ or even Daisy, maybe even Christian and Julian, how they talk is like, I'll tell you this, or do you want to hear about this? It's like they're talking to you. But so many things in this book, all throughout this book really, there are so many situations and scenes where I'm like, I would have loved to see it, rather than just being told it in a few sentences. So obviously, BJ cheated on Magnolia. We know that from the first book, but in this book, she still has so many fears about it, and everyone in the public thinks he's a massive cheater, and he's like, I wish they wouldn't do that. Which does bring up an interesting point about how when someone sees you in a certain way, it's very, very hard for them to see you in any other kind of light. As soon as someone has a perception of you in their mind, it's very, very hard to change that perception. You could become a completely different person and people will still assume So say, for example, you were like really upset over a situation, so you used unhealthy coping mechanisms. Then everyone who saw you or knew that you used certain unhealthy coping mechanisms, they then just use that against you for like the rest of days. And even now, and you don't really use those coping mechanisms anymore, really, you know, people still just assume that you do. And it's like, no, but people do it a lot about your personality as well. But yeah, I think that this book does open up a discussion because, you know, when I think of BJ, yeah, I do think about the fact that he, not so much now, but like when I was in the middle of the book, I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna see him as a cheater. But BJ is in the restaurant and a girl comes up to him and he's like, I'm not gonna cheat on Magnolia. And the girl's like, but you already have. But he got so offended, and so did the guy he was with. This book also does explore how it's very difficult for couples to kind of get back together after cheating. Honestly, I'm ranting and I'm saying things, and I don't know if I'm gonna even keep it in. It's gonna be a nightmare for me to edit this because I keep stuttering over words, I keep repeating things, I keep taking like 10-second breaks between each word, which is insufferable for me to edit. Because of BJ Magnolia's predicament, there are so many things that can't be said. Someone was like, once a cheater, always a cheater. But they're like, oh wait, because BJ was sitting there. And it's like, I think the main problem with BJ, the main problem I had with him is not the fact that he cheated. Okay, well, part of it was he cheated and who he used to cheat. Part of it definitely was that. But then he did everything else, and he would like just constantly hurt her. He would just constantly throw other girls at her and be like, look who I'm with now. I'm cutting off my nails and like, okay, there's my, look at that. Like, look at that. Like, I have to cut it because this nail's like broken, but like, look at that. My room is an oasis. I am back and ready to tell you about the rest of my notes. I promise you I'm not greasy. My skin is actually normally very dry, but ever since I started wearing lots of sunscreen, I don't know, okay. Is that flashing? Is that annoying? The no lights about it. Okay, so the main thing I want to talk about was how, for me personally, it wasn't really the fact that he, okay, first of all, yeah, it was he cheated and we didn't know why. We eventually find out why. It wasn't just because he was like, I don't care about your Magnolia. There was like actually a reason why he did. My thing was when he kept consistently hurting her and then he had the audacity to be like, well, you've dated like 3 guys, so you're not like innocent in this matter. And it's like, you're kidding me. What BJ did is in nowhere near comparable as Magnolia going on a few dates and dating a few guys. And I still will not forget when he said that what she did was worse than what he did. I was very, very excited though in this book because it's Julian. Page 344 is her answer to how many loves do you get in a lifetime. And I'm going to read out everything. And I would highly recommend you like skip forward a little bit if you don't want to hear what she has to say about how many loves you get in a lifetime. It's undeniable now, isn't it? I've had too many. None of them are the same. None of them have felt the same. And all of them I have loved incredibly differently. BJ I love in an unquestionable way. I love BJ like he's the sun. Blinding, bright, unbridled, unavoidable. He's the thing that sustains the galaxy of me. He drives the currents of me. He dictates the climates and the seasons. I feel his warmth on my face, and when he's gone, it's colder. He is the center of everything, and the gravity of me is loyal to him above all. And Christian, I loved. Truly, I did. I know he mightn't think I did in retrospect, but here and now, I can tell that I did. I won't say that it was a pure love. It was painful and convoluted, but I did love him. I loved him like he was a nurse dispensing morphine to me after a surgery. He helped me. He numbed my pain. He saw me through it to the other side of betterness. And then Tom, who always deserved more than I could give him. I loved him like he loved the hand of a person who reached down into the water to pull you back up to the surface when you're drowning. Sort of dazed and dreamy, enamored and rootless, drifting out to sea in a sort of way. But Julian, see, I love Julian. I also feel like there is a lot of closure in this book to a lot of things. There's not for one thing, which I will bring up later, but I have some theories about that. These books, there's a lot of spelling errors, grammatical errors. These books, what I will say is that yes, it does have some beautiful quotes. There are inconsistencies in certain timelines because in real life we mess up timelines and stuff. Like technically that's true, but like also it's kind of annoying. Inconsistencies in some of the characters, like a character will be like, they can only do this, but then they'll do like the complete opposite. I don't know, the other books I noticed so many grammatical errors, I noticed so many punctuation errors, but in this book, I don't know if I just like tuned out, but I don't recall anything. This is not really a spoiler. I mean, it could kind of be a spoiler. I am someone who, if it's like, oh, who do you prefer, BJ or Julian? Me, I'm always going to pick Julian. I'm always going to pick Julian. If you were paying attention to the plot, you would know that Magnolia was not going to pick Julian. Like, I'm not going to tell you who she ends up picking. Okay, I'm not going to tell you if she ends up with BJ or Julian. But like, if you read the books, Julian was like never in the running. Julian was there to make BJ jealous and for Magnolia to try to get over BJ. But like, this is coming from someone who is Team Julian, if you will. We have the next Edward and Jacob thing. I'm kidding. This was live footage of me seeing Julian mentioned for the first time. This was live footage of me, and there was a BJ restaurant situation kind of thing, and that was like my actual reaction. You want to be like at that? And he's like, so you're not going to call me that word there? I cannot say that, but when people around me have said that, I was horrified, okay? When people around me have said those things, I'm just like, ew. In this book, there is a lot about her family. There's a lot about Bridget, a lot about her dad, a lot about her mom. It's kind of less on like her friends. And like literally Christian, at first I did not like Christian. Like at first I was like, ew, Christian, like get away. Like I do not like him at all. How dare he? But then Christian really did grow on me actually. And there was not much of him in this book. So excited for Daisy Hates the Next Daisy Hates book. Some of the things that the dad says to Magnolia in this book, it's sickening. Like it is vile. It is evil and it's vile, some of the stuff that he says. Like the tree, what he says about the tree, and then what he says about her and Bridget. But there's a character in this book called Mr. Gibbs. I love him. There are some really nice quotes in here. I would never, see these editions, I would never ever annotate these, but I feel like if I had the ugly editions, I feel like I would deface them and I would like write and annotate and stuff. There is something infantile in the presumption that somebody else has the responsibility to give your life meaning and point. The truly adult view, by contrast, is that our life is as meaningful and full and as wonderful as we choose to make it. That's from The Blind Watchmaker. I don't know, I just wanted to share. Often I'm just like what is the actual point to life? Like, what is the point of this? People are born, they work, they die, that's it. Oh, I suppose, you know, some people have a family in there. But like, is that, like, what's the point? I think I would have preferred to just not be on Earth. Like, what is actually the point? To find love? I do not have a romantic life. I'm trying to be very mature about this because I used to just always be like, okay, well really it was when I was like 18. That was last year, but that was really the year that I was like, that's it. I'm actually going to be alone forever. That's it. I'm never finding anyone. I'm never finding love. I'm literally just going to be alone. Some people are fine being alone. I'm often fine being alone. But also, I don't want to like actually just be alone for my life. I don't want that. The only men who like me are old men. You know, and I don't want an old man. It just makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, you are literally the same age as my grandpa. Get away and don't say that to me. There's been like one situation, one kind of romantic situation, maybe two, maybe like two romantic situations. One of them doesn't even count because it's with a guy that I already knew. One romantic situation was with a random guy, a guy that I do not know. Never saw him ever again. I was like to my friend, oh my, this just happened. And she's like, oh, you have such an interesting life. Look, this is the one thing happened. See, the thing is I tell people like some like one-off stories, like one-off situations. And I'm like, oh, this happened. And then they're like, oh, you have such an interesting life. Like interesting things are always happening to you. And I'm like, no, there was literally a one-off situation. There's a wedding in this book. Basically, the wedding, it's for the people, like the planning and everything. It's just about what everyone else is gonna want. This cover is actually so beautiful. But I like looking at it and kind of decoding what the things mean. So like, obviously, that is Magnolia. Yes. That's BJ. Oh my. No, I'm actually gonna cry. Are those... Is that two trees? Is that what I think it is? Are those two trees symbolizing two people? We already know the first. No, I'm gonna actually cry. And she has a whole bunch of bags there. There's some traveling a little bit in this book. But I found out why she's wearing these certain shoes. The reason why she's wearing those shoes is because Bridget, so look, if you look at the shoes there, Bridget loves shoes with buckles on them, so that's why she's wearing it. Something that I want to do some research in, something myself, is something called imagery rescripting. It actually helps Magnolia and BJ, and I think that was the main reason why I was like, okay, I actually think that if they were to be together, it would actually be okay. Trust me when I say this, I never thought I'd truly think that everything would be okay with them, but I want them to live in the countryside in a fancy manner. In Greek mythology, when they were first created, the humans had 4 arms and 4 legs and a head with 2 faces. And then when the humans tried to climb Mount Olympus, Zeus considered them a proper threat, so he split them in half and they were condemned to spend forever looking for the other half to make them whole again. Oh yeah, remember when I was like saying, when I went in that rant about being lonely and everything? Yeah, the point I was trying to make about all that is that I'm trying to look at a more mature approach, and that is that when the time is right for me to find my soulmate. Because I believe in soulmates, okay? I don't care if you don't believe in soulmates. I don't care if you don't believe in love. I personally do, because I've seen it with my own eyes. He started talking about like TikTok and like twin flames, but I don't know if that's always... I don't know. People have different opinions about twin flames, but I feel like so many things I've seen about the twin flames on TikTok hasn't always been. Which he's doing. He's talking about it here. They're talking about best kind of magic. We have the northern lights, blue lava, frost flowers, shooting stars. This is very cool. Look, there's like text and stuff in the book, but like that is Bridget's list of going traveling. If anyone wanted to travel to where Bridget goes, I want someone to do this. Someone go there and go to all these places. I will. Okay, if I could afford that, I would. The main reason why I need to see the Daisy Hates books is because it's a situation with Christian and Sasha and Daisy. And who's Sasha? Exactly. Who's Sasha? That's exactly the point. Who is Sasha? And what did Daisy do? I'm sorry, what did Daisy do? I don't believe that. And honestly, if that is actually what happened, I think I know why. I think I know why. It's because that had to be a sabotage. I'm not talking about that. I would like to be dressed by Magnolia, because Magnolia, whenever she has friends, she like just dresses them and picks their outfits and stuff for them. So they mentioned A Midsummer's Night's Dream. That is my favorite Shakespeare. At this point in time, there is so many situations in this book where I'm just like, I need to have, because what I did with the last two, with The Long Way Home and The Great Undoing, is I've read those books together. There's something going on with like the Daisy Hates world. I will be at some stage rereading these books. As soon as I finish this one, I just wanted to go back and reread them all again from the beginning to like just see everything. I also would like to experience a spring equinox. I'm reading this out because I feel like this is something that I need to remember, so then maybe someone else out there needs to hear this, is that people won't necessarily ever be who we want them to be or need them to be. That can be quite scary to reckon with. I think sometimes there can be screaming revelations in your life, and then other times there are the kind that dawn on you like a sun that creeps up slowly over the horizon, and it happens with a subtlety and a grace where you don't even completely recognize that you're realizing something until it's high noon and suddenly it's blaring in your face and you've been a little bit blind from it. I want to go there because apparently it's blue lava. I want to see that. Grief is funny like that, how it ebbs and flows from you. It's not cork like champagne, a bottle that bursts open, pisses out until it's empty. It's more like a kind of weather, a kind of wind. Sometimes it's these horrible gusts that you feel undeniably, hurts your ears, makes you close your eyes, chills you right down to your bones. Some days it's a pleasant breeze that blows across your face and it's neither sad nor bad, it's just some kind of unspeakable tenderness. Some days you feel no breeze. This book, it made me feel happy, sad, it made me cry. Also Jonah, he practiced in the mirror. He kept practicing in the mirror. Marching Band of Manhattan. I listened to that while reading a certain scene. I did, and it made it very impactful, and I highly recommend it. The characters in these books feel very, very real. Made me very upset when I kept nearing the end because I was like, oh, it's going to be over. That's Julian's number. Quick, someone call it. Someone call it. Surely someone's tried to call it. I'm not going to. Basically, they allude to the situation many times throughout this book, where basically there was a situation between Harley, which is her dad, and Magnolia when they were younger, and this was like a terrible situation, and it's why BJ kind of can't forgive Harley, and it's why like Magnolia, like there's a severe problem, right? There's something that happened, and I was kind of waiting, and it was kind of set up to be this kind of like gigantic sort of bombshell to be dropped, and like it just never was. I'm sitting like one of those quirky artists in those indie films, never bring it up. I don't know if it's another one of those situations where it's like, well, it's just supposed to be only literally Magnolia and BJ can know. A lot of books like I won't rate. I rated this book 4 stars. Now, the reason why I rated it 4 stars was because I feel like there are things in this book that I would want to change, like just a few little things that just like knock it down from like a 5 star. Now I'm gonna get into like kind of like the spoiler part, so if you don't want to be spoiled, goodbye, love you. I've been filming for 40 minutes. I've been sitting here for 40 minutes. Okay, this is spoiler part now, okay? Bridget dying? At the end of the last book, I thought, okay, well, it's just a misunderstanding. She's not actually dead. No, but she actually was. Like, she was one of my favorite characters. 683 were their vows because they do end up together. I thought their vows were very good. Yeah, look at my notes. This is the song. I associate this song with this book. So would I recommend that you read this book? See, I think it's very hard to recommend books just blanket statements. Jessica Hastings herself said this book is not a romance, right? Look, this series is not a romance. She kind of gets like boxed in the romance, and I would agree with that. There's a lot of about following friendships and drama and just life. Characters are very flawed. They will do things that will make you annoyed. They'll do things that will make you very furious and mad. And it's like, this is words on a piece of paper. Why is it affecting me this much when they're like not even real? But the thing is, these characters do feel very real. I do not regret reading these books. I do not. Personally for me, I am so glad I read these books and I am going to reread them again. I cannot wait for the next Lady Hates books. She's climbing up a mountain and I think I know what's going to happen. I think she's going to leave that or spread the ashes up there. I'd like you to let me go now, Magnolia. I'm gonna go now. But yes. Okay, goodbye.